Good evening, guys. Here I am with some more ADV games. You guys seem to like when I do this. Just kind of pull some random games of people that I recognize out of the replays and narrate them. So, doing it again. You guys like it. I'll keep doing it. Why not? So, here we have Marcop and Dice, both of which were in Callus Invitational 3, though not for very long. Oh! But yeah, sick burn aside, these guys are both really good. They're both SPL guys. Dice usually plays black-white in SPL as opposed to ADV, but he's very capable, and Marco had a really strong showing last year in ADV, so these guys both definitely deserve their reputations. No idea what this is for. Let's see the game. Marco bottom side, Dice top side, Zapper, and Kuhn. I think Zapdos is favored in this matchup, if I had to venture a guess. And he goes for a Roar here, phasing out a Blissey. That's going to find Irachi looking like a stall or semi-stall team for Dice. Possibly a Baton Pass chain here with both Zapdos and Celebi. Usually when those two are paired, you're looking at some kind of mid-ranged offensive team. Leech Seed T-Wave traded here. Rachi comes back. And Leech Seed again, which was the right idea, but between the paralysis and the imperfect accuracy to begin with, there was a decent shot that would miss, and indeed it did. Calm Mind happened for Rachi. Leech Seed should probably force it out despite the boost, and it does. Here's Kuhn, and Celebi's also going to Calm Mind, furthering my suspicion that it is in fact a Baton Pass chain. Dice has the same idea, goes for Roar, doesn't want to let that happen, and out comes Skarm. Kuhn did get hit with Leech Seed, so it's not a threat to Skarm here. However, there is a Rapid Spinner, Starmie coming in. That's going to be met by Zapdos immediately. Skarm, did not get spikes down. He did do a Magneton check there, but he didn't find it. He found an actual spinner instead. There's a spinner for Marco as well, though Dice has not shown spikes. Claydol nailed on the way in, not only with 44% on Ice Beam, but also with an unlucky freeze. So Dice definitely gets a better end of that turn and probably takes a small lead because of that piece of hacks. Thunder Waves into the frozen Claydol, so he knew there'd be a switch there. Good prediction. Skarm comes in at this point, confident there's not a Magneton on the other side, which I think is a pretty good bet. And there is T-Wave giving it paralysis on the way in. Zapdos comes in to again check Magneton, but again it does not come. So Marco at this point has got to be confident that there really truly is not a Magneton there for Dice. Just a matter of can he get up and keep up those spikes. There's a second freeze there. Celebi also frozen now, as is Claydol. At least this guy's got Natural Cure. Skarm comes in at this point, again, on the bad end of T-Bolt here from what's looking like a Calm Mind Blissey, but then again it showed Thunder Wave, so it's a weird set. It is T-Wave, Ice Beam, T-Bolt, and, soft-boiled, right? It's gotta be. So an interesting set here. Celebi comes in, Kuhn is going to come in with it. It's an obvious recover turn if he's got it, which he does. So he's shown 3 moves, none of which are attacks. The last move very well could be either just Psychic, if there's a Dugtrio in the back, which we see, or Baton Pass. So it is not a Baton Passer. It is in fact just that old bulky Celebi with Calm Mind, Leech Seed, Psychic Recover. Very popular in like 2012, 13-ish, but then fell out of favor. Skarm gives it a really hard time. T-Tar gives it a really hard time. It needs very specific support in order to do its thing. Kuhn gets out of the way. Starmie comes in. It's going to resist Psychic, obviously. It can also Rapid Spin away the Leech Seed obnoxiously. However, Celebi can Calm Mind up on it, and Starmie is hard-pressed to stop it. There's a second Pokemon with Thunder Wave for Dice. We saw that Blissey has it as well. So you would think there's got to be at least one, if not 2, heavy hitters in the back for Dice that give a shit when something's paralyzed. However, the hacks kick in for Marco now, finding a critical hit on the way in with Psychic, donking that Kuhn. Relevant hacks now have occurred for both players, this Claydol freeze and that critical hit respectively. However, Claydol does not thaw here, and Marowak here is boosting up in its face. Thing looks ridiculously dangerous. A second Swords Dance boost. This thing will one-hit KO anything at this point. And there is Double Edge. He won't even take recoil because of his ability. And man, Marco is going to have to find the answer. He's going to have to outspeed the Marowak. That explains why all those things have T-Wave, trying to support the Marowak, and that Rock Slide will knock him into next fucking week. However, there is a follow-up play that is faster, and it even prevents Marowak from switching. There's the Dugtrio, which I think everyone knew or should have known would be there, since it's paired with that Celebi set that must remove T-Tar to be effective. And there is the revenge kill. So we've got ourselves a 4-4, all but one poke revealed. The hidden poke does belong to Marcop. Interesting choice of a Weezing in the back. So this team is heavily invested in supporting Marowak, which is now down. See if Dice can find another way to win. We know that the Jirachi has Calm Mind, so that is potentially a sweeper here as well, though it too needs to be careful about the Dugtrio that we know for a fact is already waiting in the back. Here comes Bliss. That comes in on Psychic. No problem. Celebi is burnt right now, so it cannot be Thunder Waved. It can keep Calm Minding up if he really wants to force the issue, but he does not. It's a switch for Marco. Brings Coon in on Ice Beam. We know that both T-Wave and T-Bolt are waiting from Bliss. Coon can also Calm Mind up in this situation, but he doesn't. Goes to Celebi fishing for Thunderbolt. That is correct. So he gets the same matchup as he had before, but the Celebi is not burnt and might like its position a little bit better. Now Coon comes in thinking there's going to be an Ice Beam. There is. So Marco going back and forth, baiting out different moves. However, another 10% freeze, the third one of the game, is going to kick in for Dice. Coon attempts to thaw out and does not. Starmie has shown Thunder Wave, and Surf probably does not have Thunderbolt. Probably simply Rapid Spin Recover as the final two moves. Marco knows he's not threatened here. I like staying in. There's no reason to switch. He attempts to thaw there, but he doesn't. Thunderbolt aimed at the Coon. Celebi on the bad end of a crit there. It can just go for Recover, though an Ice Beam may be lurking. Goes for the Recover anyway. And Thunder Wave is the play for Dice, making that Celebi slower here. Here's Rachi. Haven't seen anything other than Calm Mind from it. Don't know if it's Calm Mind 3 attacks. Don't know if it's Calm Mind Wish 2 attacks. Could be a substitute variant. We just don't know right now. There's Calm Mind, and despite the power and the imperfect accuracy, the Leech Seed will connect, but nothing preventing him from getting out of the way. There are no spikes down, and by the looks of it, it'll be very hard for Marco to keep spikes down. So I think the Leech Seed is not going to be nearly as good as it could be. Also, this Celebi set is not as threatening as it could be because there are two Psychic Resists and the Blissey in the back. However, the Calm Mind is very, very relevant because neither Starmie nor the Blissey can threaten this Celebi unless the Blissey were to get a critical hit on Ice Beam, which would obviously be really bad. The Jirachi, however, can Calm Mind up with it. That's what we're seeing here. Jirachi ahead on boost, but he is on the bad end of that Leech Seed, so both pokes struggling a little bit here. Leech Seed obnoxious for Dice, and obviously the Para obnoxious for Celebi, but it looks almost certainly like Dice is going to get the better end of this, because ultimately Celebi can't hurt it, even with a critical hit Psychic that will not be enough, whereas there's a bunch of things Dice could have here. Fire Punch, Ice Punch, stuff like that. I mean, even just a neutral attack probably is good enough here. See what ends up happening. But I mean, yes, a Jirachi would have to be like Psychic HP Grass or something to maybe lose this fight. But if he has anything meaningful to hit the Celebi with, Rachi's going to win out. But I don't know, maybe that gives Marco a little bit of hope. Best thing that Jirachi can do in this situation is Psychic. No Fire Punch, no Ice Punch, nothing. Maybe his last move is Thunderbolt. I don't know, man. He doesn't seem to have a move to really hurt the Celebi. And also the Dugtrio is still in the back, so if the Jirachi does kill the Celebi, he's going to be careful about when he gets that critical hit, which is obviously not in his control, because the Dugtrio could simply revenge kill here. So this actually might get a little bit grindy if these two are going to stay in, which they kind of have to at this point, right? The only way to not stay in, I think, is if Marco slips in the Dugtrio at an opportune time. But with all the boosts and with how dangerous these things would be to every other Pokemon, since none of those Pokemon have boosts, they're both obligated to play this out. So we might be in for a bit of a grind. I'm going to switch it over to Fast Speed here, because this very well may take a sec. Still don't know that last move for Dice, but it's obviously not Fire Punch or Ice Punch, so we're probably looking at either Substitute, which seems really janky and unlikely since you can't remove T-Tower without a Dugtrio on Dice's team, so probably not that. So it's probably Thunderbolt or HP Grass as the last move would be my guess. I mean, I guess it could, in theory, be Protect, but that's the same concept as with Substitute. It just doesn't make a lot of sense without the proper support, so probably T-Bolt or HP Grass. It could be Thunder instead of Thunderbolt, but same concept here. And yeah, the stall out is going to continue here. That Leech Seed has been a lifesaver for Marco. And they're going through the motions here, too. I don't know if this is a friendly or a tournament game, but I would wonder if it's a friendly if they just go, okay, fuck it, this is not worth it, this is going to take forever, let's pack it in. But they're playing it out, so maybe this actually is for something. And there we go, we see the last move. It's Thunder instead of Thunderbolt, which was along the lines of what we suspected here. So neither of these guys can actually hurt each other. This is going to be a real grind, it looks like. And neither one can switch either, because they could just instantly get donked when the other guy attacks. I mean, all those boosts, what can safely switch in here other than maybe Dugtrio? Like, had Dougie come in right there on that turn, maybe it could break us out of this. But that's very risky for Marco, and if he's wrong, he just basically loses the game on the spot. So it's very hard for him to make that play. Dugtrio serves as a backup plan here if things go wrong. But in the meantime, things seem to be going just fine. Neither one any meaningful threat. Even with a crit, neither one can actually kill each other here. Celebi resists both Psychic and Thunder, and Jirachi 4x resists the only attack that Celebi has, which is Psychic. So the grind is going to continue here. See where we are on PP. I think, unfortunately for the viewers, we are nowhere near out. Oh yeah. They both have 50 plus PP still, so this is going to be a marathon. Shall I bust out the cheesy 90s pop songs? It might be that time. Perhaps I should have told this game bye bye bye. See what I did there, boys? I almost want to put it on hyper fast. Yeah, you know, I think I'm going to do that. Normally I don't go hyper fast because A, it's too much for me to keep up with, and B, you don't even see the animations anymore. It just tells you what's going on. But I don't think you guys overly mind. I mean, you guys know what the sets are. Do you really care about the animations after the 30th, 40th time? We're going to go over to hyper fast here. We're going to let this play out because it's really looking like a grind. If something exciting happens, we'll put it back over to normal or slow speed. I started this on slow, but obviously I had no idea that we'd be in for this kind of grind. Obviously, I'm not going to do this whole battle on slow or on really slow. Given the way things are going, yeah, we still have quite a bit of PP left for both guys. Let me do a quick count here. 24 plus 8 is 32, plus 2, 34, plus 2, 36. What do we got over here? Way more than 36. So, Celebi will win this PP stall if it plays out in that way. The paralysis, there we go, stop. Hold the horses here. Let's go back a couple of turns. What do we have here? Alright, we have the Rachi boosted. And he's going to switch out, I think I saw, to Bliss and then come back in. Is that what's happening here? But yeah, Dice realizes that he's not going to win the PP stall, so he's going to go to Bliss here. See how that takes Psychic, if he even goes for it. He doesn't. He's got 8 of them left, it says. Now Rachi comes in, probably baiting Psychic, but it's actually just Leech Seed, which is going to miss. He's got 8 of those left as well, and now we're back to this. There's Wish, potentially thinking he's going to have to tank a Psychic, but he doesn't. It's just a failed recover, which I think was just used to kill off PP. And now Starmie's going to take his chances. And Celebi paralyzed again. So throughout that whole sequence, the Celebi actually benefited from the paralysis because it made it so he just skips turns where he doesn't have to use PP, and it actually enabled him to win the PP stall. So the paralysis actually helped him there. But he gets a big Psychic off on the Starmie, and now it's not at all clear that the Starmie would live another Psychic even after recover. So Dice bails out of the way. Celebi out of the way as well. Here comes Kuhn. So finally, the stalemate is broken 92 turns in. We're still at 4-4 as we have been for a long time. And Kuhn does not stay in. He could have taken a Thunder there from Rachi, but he didn't go for it. Leech Seed and Ice Beam respectively, 37%. Leech Seed going to keep Celebi very healthy here. Again, the spikes have just not come down or been maintained by Marco. It's going to be very hard to do with that healthy Starmie in the back. Marco tries to sneak Skarmory in here. It comes in on Ice Beam. Leech Seed does keep it safe, but we know Bliss has Thunderbolt, and more importantly, this enables a free Starmie switch unless Marco makes exactly that play. He breaks himself right the fuck out of this game. He baits in the spinner by showing the Skarm, and Marco walks him right into his trap. Very, very well played by Marco, and now he might take this down. Because now the Skarmory will have opportunities to get spikes down, and now Dice is not going to be able to remove them. Now, granted, the Weezing doesn't care, and the Blissey and the Rachi can both threaten the Skarm, so it might not be the easiest thing to actually get the spikes down. We saw a fire attack flamethrower from the Weezing as well, so I mean, maybe actually getting spikes down might be tricky, but once he does, they will stay. And I mean, against the Bliss, for example, unless Skarm gets a very unlucky chain of Para, he should be able to get at least one layer down here, which he's probably going to attempt. There's Thunderbolt. Para or Crit would have prevented spikes. And interesting, the Drill Peck comes down here. Why? What is he fishing for? Blissey's at 83, Weezing's at 100, Rachi's healthy. Why Drill Peck instead of spikes? I don't understand that at all. But he Drill Pecks twice in a row. He gets Blissey for 23%, then he Drill Pecks the Weezing, but I don't understand the point. However, Dice is once again outplayed. Marco baits out the fire attack, and Dice thaws Coon right out. I don't like Flamethrower there. The Coon being offline was very, very crucial to Dice's plan to victory, and I think it's very, very hard to not argue that Marco is ahead now. He's got to be, right? I mean, if the Coon just never thaws, maybe we've got ourselves a game, but now it's just a clear 4-3 advantage for Marco, and he's the one with the pressure poke if this comes down to a really long PP stall, and he's the one who can put spikes down, even if he has to be cautious in doing so. So we're definitely in for a grind here. It's turn 108, and there's still quite a few Mons healthy. More than half the pokes who started this game are still alive. But it's really looking to me like Marco has the edge, and he's got the inevitability on his side at this point. The only way out of this game is a Rachi sweep for Dice. The Weezing and the Bliss are not going to be good enough. Now, if the Weezing has Explosion, which it could, we have not seen the full set. We've only seen Flamethrower Will-O-Wisp. If the Weezing has Explosion and he manages to catch the Celebi, then maybe, just maybe, the Jirachi could sweep. It's low on PP from before, and it has to be careful of Dugtrio, but theoretically, a Jirachi sweep is still possible here for Dice. So checking on the attacking moves, yeah, I mean, he's bone dry. He's got 2 Thunders and 1 Psychic left. So, I mean, if he tried to set up the Rachi for the sweep, he would have to make every attack count. He would have to be spot on with the things that he's attacking, and he cannot be wrong. If he thundered the Dugtrio, for example, that would be no bueno, because he only has 3 attacking PP remaining. This is going to be a hard one to win for Dice, for sure. We're going to speed this up to normal. It was on slow, but again, I think we might be in for a little grind here. Fast might be too much. Maybe not. I might switch it to fast in a minute. But I think this is really hard for Dice to win. I think if he was going to get away from the Celebi with the Rachi, if he wasn't going to play that out the whole way, he should have done it sooner and conserved some of the PP on Rachi. But now it's so low to where even if he could set it up, he is still not guaranteed to sweep with it. And also, for sure, there's been a couple of questionable ones, like walking his Starmie into the Dugtrio. I think that was more of a good play for Marco than a bad play for Dice, but you could argue that it was a little bit of both, and then certainly thawing out the Coon is not what Dice wanted to be doing. Flamethrower connects on Celebi here. Recover going to bring him right back up. There's Will-O-Wisp for the burn, which obviously he can natural cure away. That would have been a nice boom opportunity. So is this. Does he have it? No. Goes Will-O-Wisp again, thinking there'll be a switch. That's just a free Psychic for 88% for Celebi. And there's the follow-up Psychic for the knockout. Dice really in some trouble now with only 2 Pokemon remaining, both of which hate Dugtrio. Checking on Celebi here, he does have 2 Leech Seeds. He's got 3 Psychics as well. He only has 1 Calm Mind remaining. There it is. That's the final one for the game. Thunder Wave for Bliss, used for the purpose of killing PP. Celebi not an offensive threat here. Plenty of PP left here. We'll see if a crit comes down. Ice Beam crit would be necessary to actually kill the Celebi here. Here comes Rachi. The sweep attempt might begin, but there are 2 Leech Seeds in the back, and he might be trying to bait those out. Here's Dugtrio that's going to find Bliss. Whether or not Bliss can kill it with Ice Beam is yet to be determined, but obviously she's going to try. She's going to hit the Scarm here. She could simply go for T-Bolt if she wants, but she opts for the Rachi switch instead. That would have been a Spikes opportunity for Marco, but he's fully paralyzed. Blissey comes in now, fully paralyzed for a second time in a row is Skarmory. There's Thunderbolt. Marco stays in on it. Down that goes. Here comes Coon that's going to attempt to set up. He's been frozen for most of the game and hasn't gotten to do much of anything. Calm Mind, in fact, is the very, very first move that we have seen from the Coon. We do not know the set, though Coon does not have a big move pool. There's not too much variance. There's only a couple sets it could be. There is the rest, which Dice does not want him to have, and he is going to have to find either Thunderbolt or Thunder with a crit, and we see that it's a Crow Coon as well, so he only gets better in his sleep, finding Calm Mind and then failing by finding Rest, but the bottom line is that a crit has to be found, and Coon has pressure as well. So the PP, which was already very limited for Dice, is getting even more limited here. Those Thunderbolts are going to run out real fast. It says he's got 11 left, but he's Thunderbolted into the Coon, 4 or 5 times? He probably only has a very small handful left at this point, maybe 3 or so of them, and he is running out of opportunities to find a crit. He is going to need it here. The only other out would be freezing the Coon, getting the Rachi in, boosting it up to max, and then finding a Thunder crit. Theoretically possible, but a hell of a lot of things would have to go right. So the first thing Dice needs to do is find another freeze. It would be his 4th freeze of the game. There's Rest, which is going to prevent a freeze. Check on Ice Beam PP. It says he has 5. That really means he only has 2 or something. Yeah, the window is damn near closed for Dice, but he is playing it out like a trooper, trying to find that sequence of hacks that he would desperately need here. There's Surf. There's Thunderbolt. He's got to be damn near out of those. Dice clinging on for dear life, and he finally concedes. He does not see the way out anymore. He gets grinded out by Marco P. And quite the marathon game we have here to start off my little random games night that I'm doing. Hopefully they're not all this long, but this was a decent game, and there were definitely some plays by both guys. But I think ultimately Marco played a little bit better and deserved this victory. Alrighty, rate, comment, subscribe. More content coming.